This is some walnut I've dried out in my dry box, and now I'm going to make a cutting board. I got some of these pieces. Okay, see, perfect. Nice and smooth. Now I'm just going to kind of clean this up a little bit. I'm going to start by cutting it at 1 1/4. They're going to be 1 1/8. I just want to make sure it's cutting the right amount of. I find that there's just a lot of repetitive cutting when you're building one of these kind of boards. And here's a stack of them. Here I'm just marking the bottom of the boards, that way I know how much the jointer is taking off each pass. Now here we go, here's all my boards all cut into size. Now just get ready to plane them. I like to use wax paper on the bottom of my surface, that way I keep the glue from sticking to it. When you're doing a glue up, you want to make sure you cover all of the surface that you're going to glue. I'm still trying to find that perfect balance of perfect amount of clamping pressure as opposed to too much. I usually use too much pressure and it bows a tiny bit. Set it to a 45 degree, and pretty close I think. Here I'm just marking the pieces because the table saw doesn't always cut it perfectly, so I went back with the jointer and jointed both sides together. It feels like there's a lot of glue ups and a lot of cuts. I've actually bought a new set of clamps in the process of making these, and these are some Bessie clamps, and so far I really like how these ones work. I also built a cross-cut sled in the process of making this cutting board, so this is perfect timing for using this. just to make the size a little better, I put a border of maple around the cutting board. So too many times I've used my thickness planer on projects like this and I get a lot of tear out, so I took the safe route on this one and I just used my router sled. I didn't want to have any more tear out and mistakes, so. As for sanding, I started with 60 grit to flatten it down a tiny bit, and then I went through all the grits all the way up to 800 on this. Here I'm doing a water pop. I did it a couple times on this project as well. That's when you put water on the board to raise the grain and then sand it off. Here's where I want the feet to be. Now I'm on to oiling, and this I used walrus oil. We go ahead and apply a second coat to this. Not sure if it's going to need it or what, but I'm just going to do it anyway. I had to apply several coats of walrus oil to really get it to sink in. It was probably 4 or 5 coats before I finally had oil sitting on top. I'm just going to add a layer of board bump to this. I'm just going to let it dry overnight. I'll buff it off in the morning. I'm just going to wipe the excess wax off. And this is it, the final product. Pretty happy with it. I can see some mistakes I made, but for the most part, I'm really happy with it for the first time try. Hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe and like and comment. Thanks.